morning everyone. Okay. So 16th June 2022. Let's see which are the important articles. Right. Now, look at the first page. Cabinet approves mega 5G auctions. So yes, a long pending, we can say, the initiative of the government, and yes, the government has said that let's say 5G auctions will take place in July month. So this article is talking about this. So we'll cover as a follow-up to what we can say this 5G auctions or 5G spectrum. Some data is mentioned in that we can say table, how 1G, 2G, 3G and 4G and 5G evolved with different frequencies and maximum data speeds, we can say, and years are also mentioned. So that is relevant to our prelims examination. Okay. Now come to page number 6. On bottom side there is one article, drones to drop balls with 11 lakh seeds. Yes. नहीं ये कैमरा से स्क्रीन कवर नहीं है. Yes. Now it is fine, right? Okay. Yes. On page number 6 on the bottom side, drones to drop balls with 11 lakh seeds. Right. So this article is talking about the application of drones here. There was one question in last year prelims examination talking about the applications of drone technology. Okay, so you should be writing down the applications of different technologies which are in news, because at one place you may not find all these applications. Okay, so in future also we are expecting question now in mains examination regarding drones, because this year in union budget itself the finance minister announced the application of drones in agriculture sector. So government is itself promoting the drone Shakti, and that's why we should be also preparing some kind of material for our mains examination here. Okay? Yes. Now next on page number 8, editorial page, lead article, a ground plan for India's COVID-19 response. See, the writer is writing related to COVID-19. First of all, when there was, let's say, pandemic started, along with that then the vaccine development. So last 2 years the writer is writing very good articles here and in this the Hindu newspaper, and we are having continuous follow-up when we talk about COVID-19 policy response by the government. And here the writer is saying that the context is recent increase in the cases. It has marked 8,000 plus cases recently at all India level. So he is talking about the change in the COVID-19 response by the government that is required here. Okay, some way forward is mentioned in terms of policy response that we need to cover in COVID-19 part, governance GS2 paper. Fine, other articles are okay, but you need to know that the bulldozer on the loose, left hand side, demolition of property of Muslim activist is the challenge to rule of law. Right, so Supreme Court is going to hear some petitions regarding this, bulldozing the houses of activists or those involved in the riots. Right, so how it affects different fundamental rights or the constitutional rights under Indian Constitution, along with that whether it violates certain human rights or those rights mentioned in international conventions and protocols where India has signed them. Okay. So that is important for our examination. Fine, text and context page not that much relevant. We already covered this nuclear disarmament news by the CIPRI day before yesterday. So that part is covered here, so it's not that much important. Details are not that much important here. Now on page number 12, Doval attends meeting hosted by China. So here basically the meeting is hosted by the BRICS security advisor and high representatives. So it is, we can say, prelude to BRICS summit that is going to happen on 24th June, where our Prime Minister will participate here. You should also know that it is 2 years have been completed to Galwan conflict that happened in June month of 2020. Okay, and both countries are downplaying basically the conflict that happened, and after that the escalation along the LAC. So this is good development that there is no instigation by each other in such platforms. So further deliberation and discussion on such platforms is good thing. GS2 paper IR section. Now day before yesterday, the government launched Agnipath scheme, under which the new recruits will be recruited from all India level in 3 services of armed forces, Army, Navy and Air Force, for the period of 4 years of tenure, and after that some of them will be continued recruited for the permanent commission for 15 years. ठीक है, तो yes, we'll cover details of this government scheme in today's part, right? So what will be the benefits, what will be the eligibility criteria, all these aspects, and why government has come up with this scheme, ये सारी चीज़ें आपको कवर करनी है. Government schemes, prelims examination. At the same time, in near future there will be some analytical articles talking about this scheme, so we will cover that part from mains examination perspective. Okay, yes. Now on page number 13, demolition drives may challenge the rule of law. So we will cover the details of right to property from polity section, right? So article 300A of Indian Constitution talks about right to property as constitutional right, as well as we can say legal right. So this article provides that the state cannot take away the property of the person except as per the established law of the country. ठीक है, so the details provisions you should know that earlier it was a part of fundamental rights of Indian Constitution, later it was taken away and the new article was inserted. तो ये सारे constitutional amendments कब कब हुए हैं वो देखना है हमें, right? So it will be revision for you for prelims examination. We can expect such question in prelims examination now. Okay, so India is a global security power and this is in US interest. So US State Department Assistant Secretary for South and Central Asia, so he is talking in that interview that India is a global security power. This is very big statement by a US official here. Okay, US recognizes that India is the defense power. Up till now we were always focusing on projecting soft power, and even the world perceived India as a soft power. Now here onwards we will be also perceived as the military power, especially as a regional power in Asia Pacific region. At least we can say that in Asia region or South Asia region. Okay, so you should be aware about such statements. Details are not that much important here. Okay, fine. Now on bottom side you can see nursing degree with add-on Ayurveda soon. Okay, so India is all set to unveil its first integrated Ayurveda nursing degree as an add-on to allopathy or conventional nursing program in an effort to offer best integrated medicine benefits to patients. So this is going to be the first such initiative in medicine field. Integrated courses will be offered here between Ayurveda and nursing degree. Okay. Right, on page number 16, 5G will drive significant advancement, says analysts. So we'll cover this in 5G part, the announcement by the government. Let's see in details. First of all, a ground plan for India's COVID-19 response. Okay, so in the first part, let us understand the epidemiological aspects So when we talk about spread of disease, it is depending on the triad of following. The triad, or it is complex interaction of first the agent, second the host, and third the environment. You can write such kind of things in your mains examination answer, and you should be aware about all these aspects. So here also for COVID-19, who is the agent here? The pathogen, that is virus, COVID-19 virus is the agent. Host, who is the host? We can say humans, or their immune biological characteristics is the host aspect, we can say. And third is environment, that is social and behavioral aspects or factors of the human being. Now the writer is of the view that the agent, the present spike in the case, here there are no significant mutations since third wave in the host, since third wave. So that's why the host, or the agent is not the major factor for recent increase in number of cases. Okay, so Omicron and thereafter whatever the variants are there, they are not variants of concern, VOC, and that's why we may not expect, let's say, fourth wave here because of the new agent, or we can say mutated agent here. Then the second factor here is host or humans. Now when this pandemic started, we did not have immune system towards this new pathogen, and that's why we all were vulnerable for infection. But after 2 years, at present almost 90% and more have received first dose of COVID-19, and more than 80% have received 2 doses of COVID-19 vaccine, and because of that we have substantial amount of immunity against this virus. Okay, so we can say that because of this immunity increase, the host is now fighting with the agent, or we can say that this pathogen properly, and therefore the new increase in the cases is not because of weak immunity here. Okay, then that's why the writer is saying that the present increase in the cases is because of the environmental factor, that is social and behavioral factors. For example, we all know that now the economic activities have resumed pre-pandemic level. They have resumed at pre-pandemic level. Once again, the crowded places, different events are being conducted. Okay. So there we can see that the people are coming together and they are bonding also, and because of this, at the same time there are relaxations for mask wearing. So there is no penalty at present for not wearing the mask, and because of that no one is wearing almost the mask, we can say, and that's why the increase in number of cases. Okay, so environmental factor, that is social and behavioral factors, they are playing the major role here in recent increase in cases. Right. Now COVID-19 is less of public health issue and more of an individual health issue now at present. When this pandemic started, it was public health issue because public at large was not having immunity towards this new pathogen, and that's why it was public health issue. But at present we can say that maximum people are having antibodies against this virus and they have immunity, and therefore some of them are vulnerable. Some of them are vulnerable. They can be vulnerable because of their weak immune system, और स्पेशली ओल्ड एज पीपल जहाँ पे कई सारे उनके ऑर्गन्स ठीक से काम नहीं कर रहे थे, या फिर इम्यून सिस्टम वीक होता है, राइट. सो दे आर मोर वल्नरेबल, एंड दैट्स व्हाई द इंडिविजुअल हेल्थ issue, the present level of, we can say, protection should be at individual level. And therefore the writer is suggesting that what 5-pronged strategy that we followed initially to deal with this public health issue, that was test, track, treat. 3T plus vaccinate and COVID-19 appropriate behavior. So this was 5-prong strategy that we adopted in last 2 years during first, second and third wave. But this is not going to be effective now. Okay, so population wide application of pandemic response in India can be transitioned now to focused on individual protection. ठीक है, तो ये ट्रांजिशन होना चाहिए, गवर्नमेंट ने ये करना चाहिए. उसके लिए क्या क्या चीज़ें गवर्नमेंट कर सकता है in terms of measures? First of all, the indicators that are used at present as a part of surveillance, they needs to be changed. At present still we are using the indicators of overall all India level number of cases, state level cases and the number of deaths. Now this is not that much significant indicator. We should change this indicator to number of symptomatic COVID-19 patients. And second, the number of hospitalization that is happening because of COVID-19. So this will give more proper idea about who are the vulnerable section and at individual level what things that needs to be done here. Second thing is related to booster dose. So yes, some of the studies suggest that booster dose is effective especially for vulnerable sections of society. Okay, or the population we can say. Vulnerable in a sense like old age people or those having weak immunity, they can be given the booster dose. But at mass level, if suppose the adult population is to be given the booster dose, then that is not effective. Okay, so studies suggest that the booster dose is not that much effective for adult population. And if it is to be taken, then there should be sufficient gap so that the immunity is further boosted after that gap, or antibodies are there in body after certain gap. At the same time, it should not be pressurized on, let's say, or we can say emphasized on under 12 years of age vaccination. So yes, children are less vulnerable for severe disease and therefore they should not be such kind of compulsion here or emphasis. Then in terms of mask wearing, at present, yes, whenever the government is having this policy, it is some kind of compulsion rather than the promotion of voluntariness here. Voluntariness in a sense, the people should be, motivated, they should be educated to wear the mask. And that to those vulnerable sections, they should be, asked to wear the mask continuously by the government agencies. Okay, then in addition to these measures, ultimately we should also talk about, the focus should be here on individual level. So those who are symptomatic patients, those who are getting admitted into the hospitals, the government should focus on them rather than at larger public health level or public health policy level. And lastly, the unnecessary attention to COVID-19 should reduce by the government. Okay, unnecessary, more attention at present is not required. Rather, other important health problems, health issues, for example TB, hypertension, or we can say diabetes, they are major non-communicable and communicable disease which are having huge burden on the public health. Okay, so they needs to be given attention now, because during pandemic they did not get the right kind of attention. Okay, so this should be the policy approach here. Now, moving on. Doval attend meeting hosted by China. This meeting was of BRICS security advisors. Okay, BRICS security advisors and high representatives. This is good thing, because yes, after 2 years of let's say Galwan conflict, both sides have downplayed the differences. Along with that, the meeting of, let's say, New Delhi also hosted a border security conference of SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization countries, that includes officials from China, Russia, Pakistan and Central Asian countries. Okay, so these two important developments at security level, okay, border security conference and BRICS security advisors meeting. Now this meeting happened ahead of BRICS summit that is going to happen on 24th June, hosted by Chinese President, which our Prime Minister will also attend along with Russian President Putin. So when this meeting will happen, once again BRICS will be in news. So from mains perspective and basics of BRICS for prelims perspective, will cover this. Okay, fine. Yes, so government schemes, this is in news. Agnipath scheme is in news. Now this can be asked in the prelims examination, details of Agnipath scheme. So briefly we will try to know the details of this scheme. So the soldiers which are recruited here under Agnipath scheme for in the three services, Army, Navy and Air Force, they will be called as Agniveers. They will be called as Agniveers. Now what is this particular scheme is all about? Under the new scheme, 45,000 to 50,000 soldiers will be recruited annually, and most will leave the service in just 4 years. Why most? Because only 25% will be allowed to continue for another 15 years under permanent commission. That's why we are saying that most of them will retire here. Now the move will make the permanent force levels much leaner for over 13 lakh strong armed forces in the country. This will considerably reduce the defense pension bill, which has been major concern, or we can say that revenue expenditure by the government. Okay, now what is the eligibility criteria? The new system only is for personnel below the officer rank. Officer rank means those who do not join forces as commissioned officers. They are only eligible. Those who join the forces as commissioned officers, they are not part of this system. Now under this scheme, aspirants between the age of 17.5 years and 21 years will be eligible to apply. The recruitment standards will remain the same at present of these services, and recruitment will be done twice a year through rallies. This recruitment will happen at all India level and not at battalion levels. Okay, so you should know that there is some kind of nepotism that is there, and the caste and religion and region bias whenever there are armed forces recruitments. So that will be avoided. This is one of the view given by the officials. Now what happens after the selection? So first there will be 6-month training to the let's say recruited person, and then they will be deployed for 3.5 years for, we can say, next service. Now during this period the starting salary will be 30,000, which will further increase to 40,000 during the service. Now 30% of their salary will be set aside under Seva Nidhi program. This is very important. Seva Nidhi program 30%, and the government will contribute equal amount every month, and it will also accrue interest. So because of this, what will happen at the end of 4-year period, each soldier will get around 11.71 lakh rupees as a lump sum amount, which will be tax free also. 4 साल के बाद इतना अमाउंट उनको मिलेगा डायरेक्टली टैक्स फ्री. They will also get the life insurance of 48 lakh rupees, okay, for 4 years, and in case of death, payout will be over 1 crore rupees, including pay for unserved tenure. However, after 4 years, only 25% will be recruited back into respective services for a period of 15 years. For those who are reselected for this 15 years as a part of permanent commission, the initial 4 years period will not be considered for retirement benefits. This is also correct. Then how will the scheme benefit the armed forces and recruits? The motive of government bringing this scheme, at present the average age of forces is 32 years in the country, which will go down to 26 years in next 6 to 7 years. The scheme that envisions this to bring or make this force younger. So Defense Minister said that the efforts are being made that the profile of armed forces should be as youthful as the wider Indian population. A youthful armed force will allow them easily trained for new technologies. This is also true. Okay, so this is one of the motive we can say, and minister added that it will increase employment opportunities, and because of skills and experience acquired during 4 years service, such soldiers will get employment in various fields after their completion of service. Also, government will help rehabilitate soldiers who leave the service after 4 years. They will be provided skills certificate and bridge courses. The new bridge course will be by the IGNOU, and the IGNOU will have some kind of agreement with different forces, and they will provide the bridge courses here to complete the degrees course. Also, impetus will be to create the entrepreneurs also. Like for example, 3 years degree program will be given by IGNOU. Agniveers can serve during wars. The youth recruited for in the armed forces under short-term Agnipath scheme can be called back if the situation demands, particularly in the case of full-fledged war. Because they have been trained, they will have necessary skills here. Also, Agniveers to get priority in CAPF recruitment. So, after doing their service in the armed forces, they may get priority in the recruitment of CAPF. Now, which are all covered in CAPF? Central Reserve Force, Police Force, CRPF, then Central Industrial Security Force, CISF, BSF is there, then SSB, Sashastra Seema Bal, and Indo-Tibetan Police Force. They are under the administrative and operational control of Ministry of Home Affairs. CAPFs, they come under the administrative control of Ministry of Home Affairs. They are responsible for internal security of the country. CAPF. Okay, so then the Assam Rifle deployed along the Myanmar border is under the administrative control of Ministry of Home Affairs, but it is under operational control of Army. Operational control of Army, Assam Rifles. Okay, so this part you should remember. Now, yes, the benefits to those youth who are working as Agniveers, so they get priority for the CAPF recruitment. This is also one of the benefit we can say. Now, demolition drive may challenge the rule of law. Yes, so rule of law is very important in any democratic country, and therefore such kind of executive actions without giving any kind of chance to be heard by the let's say person whose house is demolished here. This is against let's say natural justice principles and rule of law. This is mentioned in this article. And right to property, it is important for prelims examination, so we will revise this. Originally, right to property was one of the 7 fundamental rights under the part 3 of Indian Constitution. It was dealt by Article 1F and Article 31. What these articles tell? So, this Article 1F guaranteed to every citizen right to acquire, hold and dispose of property. At present, this article is repealed. You should know, we will talk about that. Now, Article 31 guaranteed to every person, whether citizen or non-citizen, right against deprivation of his property. It provided that no person shall be deprived of his property except by the authority of law. Now, there are several amendments to Article 31 and 31A, 31B and 31C were added subsequently through amendments. Now, this article empowered the state to acquire or requisition of property of person on 2 conditions. It should be for public purpose only, and it should provide for payment of compensation to the owner. Then only such acquisition is allowed. Now, later on, 44th Constitutional Amendment Act 1978 abolished the right to property as fundamental right by repealing Articles 19(1)F and Article 31. Okay, so at present Article 31A, B, C are there and not original Article 31. Instead, the Act inserted new Article 300A and the Part 7 of Indian Constitution heading Right to Property. It provides that no person shall be deprived of his property except by authority of law. This has been already asked in the prelims examination. Right to property, it remains a legal right or a constitutional right, though no longer fundamental right. Okay, also it is not part of basic structure of Indian constitution. So there can be question again in prelims examination on this. Cabinet approves mega 5G auction. So this is good development. Already in union budget, this year's budget, the finance minister announced that soon there will be 5G auctions, and TRAI, that is Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, was looking into the nitty-gritties, and it has recommended how spectrum should be auctioned here, and it will start on 26th July 2022. So it will be news just before mains examination. You should all have follow up here, those who are let's say going to give this year's mains examination. Now for prelims examination, 1G, it provided only voice and no data speed here, and it was launched in 1979. Then in 1991 came 2G with 14.4 kbps speed. In 2000, 2.5G, 53.6 kbps. In 2001, 3G was immediately launched with 384 kbps speed. In 2010, 4G was launched with 100 Mbps scheme, and in 2020, 5G was launched all over the world, including India. 1 Gbps is the speed. Okay, so how it is going to be helpful? It is going to be helpful because it will provide newer avenues for deeper penetration and access and rich user experience. Okay, because of high speed data transfer, we can say the 5G that will provide. There will be some, let's say, concerns that will be the spectrum, how it will be given. Some positives are mentioned here. The center announced that auction of millimeter wave band, which would not only help unlock the true potential of 5G but also help strategically manage the cost for the operators. Another aspect that will be good auction was that operators would have flexibility to surrender the spectrum after 10 years without any liabilities. This is also good thing, that it will not be staying idle, and it can be returned back or sold back. Then wide availability of spectrum across all bands was encouraging, as the potential bidders could opt for spectrum bands and quantum as per their strategy. So in analysis, you should be knowing certain aspects. There will be further articles in coming days. We will discuss this part in detail. Drones to drop balls with 11 lakh seeds. Where this is happening? In Andhra Pradesh, in the Tirupati hills, basically Yogula Parvatam, the name of the hills we can say, and certain NGOs, non-profit organizations are working on it. A whopping 11 lakh seeds are said to be sown on the hillocks and Rayala Cheruvu tank, 20 kilometers south of Tirupati, in a bid to turn the landscape greener. This landscape is prone, as it is to the forest fire, as it is shrub jungle, and it is prone to frequent forest fires, killing the inhabitants like small mammals, reptiles and insects. And that's why such initiative is being taken to grow different tall trees instead of shrub jungle, we can say, and the trees which will be grown through the seeds: neem, pongamia, custard apple, fig twig, teak and tamarind, gooseberry, palas, wood apple, banyan and sandalwood and red sandals. ये सारे उनके 31 such varieties will be grown here by dropping this with the help of drone here. Okay, so this will be one of the application of drones you should be knowing here for the afforestation purpose. ठीक है, afforestation purpose or planting trees. Okay, so what should be answer to this question? Yes. Okay, so about Agnipath scheme, we have to find the correct statement. That is, new scheme launched for recruiting soldiers for tenure of 4 years in Army and Navy only. This is incorrect. Here Air Force is also there, all 3 forces of armed forces. So this is incorrect. Only 50% of the recruits will be allowed to continue for another 15 years. This is not 50%, this is 25%. Okay, only 25%. This is incorrect. The aspirants between the age of 17.5 years to 21 will be eligible to apply. This is correct. 30% of their salary will be set aside under Seva Nidhi and equal amount will be also added by the government. Ultimately, this will be given after completion of 4 years to the let's say those recruits personnel, and that will be tax free. So this is correct statement. So 3 and 4 only is the correct answer here. Fine? Okay. So any question you have? Let us stop then. Fine.
Welcome to Lukmaan IAS. Study General Studies with Lukmaan IAS for building comprehensive knowledge. GS paper 2 and 4 will be taken by S. Ansari and other papers will be covered by renowned faculties. Live classes are as effective as offline classes. The classes are highly interactive in nature. Your doubts and queries will be addressed and there will be dictation of notes. In the last 10 years, Lukmaan IAS has set up a niche in the field of UPSC guidance.